Hello, everybody. Hello, world. Welcome. It's going to be a lovely evening today as we get into reading a little bit of creepypastas. For one, oh, the camera's angled weird. Give me a moment. Wha-bam! There you go. Ha! Better now? Alright. So, we're gonna dive into this, straight on. We're going to be reading probably about 4 or 5 stories. I'm also thinking of doing a series where I edit a bunch of videos and publish them with an opening theme song and stuff, because I do have quite a few scary songs that I've written myself, and it'd be pretty cool to make a little video with music playing in the background as well, so that way the live stream's not as quiet. But that's mostly what these live streams are for. But, I just kind of want to, make it a bit more watchable for you guys. But I will still be doing live creepypastas every Thursday night. And hopefully a creepypasta video probably every few days or every other day. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to come up with a schedule for that because I do have a lot of stuff to do. So, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's see what we got. Alright, so I'm going to put my face over here. Hi, guys. Alright. Let's see their stories. No, I don't need to sleep. Alright. I love how this app marks every single story that I've already read. Alright, so why don't we start with Jeff the Killer? Because, I actually really fucking hate Jeff the Killer. It's one of the very few stories that I'm really afraid of. I've seen, video games made based off of him, and he is so goddamn scary. I can't. Okay. Excerpt from a local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer still at large. God, that picture's just so fucking unsettling. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There in the little ray of light illuminating from between my curtains were a pair of 2 eyes. These weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's the reason why I'm afraid. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way that only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked. I punched. I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably wouldn't have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the cops. Oh, would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing toward the back of my house was broken. I looked out it to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I'll never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes and that psychotic smile. They'll never leave my head. Sorry. Police are still on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. I knew a better house. What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of the neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you." "Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turns around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in the yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter and my two sons, Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you hadn't noticed, I'm not a dumb kid." "Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now we're just going to that party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. All mothers. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling, and suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as some random feeling. He heard his mother call to him and get him stuff. He walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked down the stairs to get breakfast and get ready for school. As he sat there, eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain. But he once again dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus. Then all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard and caught it with his hands. The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well, looks like we got some new meat." Suddenly, 2 other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith." Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid.
CREEPYPASTA stream at 10 o'clock p.m.
Sorry, it was just a reminder that I said. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there's Keith." Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face, that what you would expect a sidekick to have. "And he's Troy." They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. "And I," said the first kid, "and Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there is a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift." Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. "Tisk, tisk, tisk. I hoped you'd be a little bit more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way." The kid walked up to Lou and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gestured to him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give back my brother's wallet or else." Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his knife. "Oh, and what will you do?" Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. "Jeff, how'd you..." That was all he said. They saw the bus coming and they knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing. So they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. He got that feeling. He felt somehow powerful. It was just the urge to hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help but feel happy. He felt the strange feeling go away and stay for the entire day of school. even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop. And now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore. He felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in an ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." The next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at his door. His mother looked back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't regular fighting, and they were stabbed. Stabbed, son." Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones that pulled knives on me and Lou." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof that it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say what they were that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Lou. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it since it was him who beat up all the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one that beat up the kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner and they both nod. "Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie." "Wait," says Lou. They all look up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. "It was me. I beat up those little punks. Have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. "Son, just put the knife down," said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Lou, it was me. I did it." Jeff had tears running down his face. "Huh, poor bro, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me anyway." The police led Lou out to the patrol car. "Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them. I was the one who beat up those kids." Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You could stop." Jeff watched hopelessly as the cop's car sped off with Lou. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway. Seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it?" Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by. No word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday when Jeff is woken up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. "Jeff, it's the day," she said as she opened up the curtains to let light flood into his room. What's today?" asked Jeff as he stirs awake. "Why, it's Billy's party." He was now fully awake. "Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after..." There was a long pause. "Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be a thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed." Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked down the stairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up. His mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why would they ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party? "Son, is that all you're going to wear?" said Jeff's mom. "Better than wearing too much," he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. "No, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression," said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. "I don't have fancy clothes," he yelled down the stairs. "Just pick out something," called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for a special occasion and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it. He looked around and finally found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which went with the dress pants. Finally, he found a little white hoodie and put it on. "You're wearing that?" they both said. His mother looked at her watch. "No time to change. Let's just go," she said as she hurried off and his father went out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door, and it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, were way overdressed. As they all walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids. The kids are out in the yard. How about you go out and meet some of them, Jeff, said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. Might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and a hat. Hey, wanna play? He said. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face. Please, said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend to shoot at the kids. At first he thought it was totally ridiculous. Then he actually started to have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he'd ever done something that took his mind off Lou. So he played with the kids for a while, until he heard a noise, a weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with burning hatred. Hello, Jeff, is it? He said. We have some unfinished business. Jeff saw his bruised nose. I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you got my brother sent to JDC. Randy had an angry look in his eyes. Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today. As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and butted him. Jeff pushed Randy off him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. No one interrupts, or guts will fly, they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabbed his foot and twisted it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked toward the back door. Troy grabbed him. Need some help? He picks Jeff up by the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he's kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me! He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff, look at me! Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just going to sit there and let him rot for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Jeff starts to get up. Oh, finally you stand and fight. Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka in his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling, the one which he hasn't felt for a while. Finally he's up, says Randy, as rational thinking is gone. All he gets through. Fucking eyesight. As he runs at Jeff, that's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Everyone's looking at Jeff now. The parents, crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire at him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs a towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives at the ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He's pushed into the wall. I'm surprised no one is fucking helping Jeff. What the hell? Ugh, this is just so rigged. He pushed him into the wall. A thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. What's so funny? He asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. What's funny? he said, is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol. Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. No one is helping him? Really? Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. I can see why he's a killer now, because everyone's a fucking asshole in this story. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him into a walking inferno. He ran down the hall, fell down the stairs. Everyone started screaming as they saw Jeff. Then help him! Now a man on fire dropped to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents tried to extinguish the flame. Finally! That's when he passed out. God, everyone in this story is a piece of shit. No wonder he turned evil. When Jeff woke, he had a cast wrapped on his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm. And when he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in. I don't think you can get out of bed just yet, she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. Honey, are you okay? She asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered. If I were Jeff, I'd be like, you bitch. You should have just fucking called the cops. Fucking everyone in this story's an idiot. Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed to trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go. This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube come out of his arm. He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again. Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family were all there to see it, what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everybody was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage over his face was removed. Let's hope for the best, said the doctor. He quickly pulled the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Dramatic. Jeff's mother screamed at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stared awestruck at his face. What? What happened to my face? Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of this distress. His face. It's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned into a pure white color, and his hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hand on his face. It had sort of a leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back in the mirror. Jeff, said Lou, it's not that bad. Not that bad, said Jeff. It's perfect. His family were equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed his left eye was twitching. Jeff? Are you okay? Okay? I've never felt more happy. Look at me. This face goes perfectly with me. He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. Doctor, said Jeff's mom, is my son all right, in the head? Oh yes, his behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. His behavior doesn't change within the next few weeks. Bring him back here, and I'll give him a psychological test. Oh, thank you, doctor. Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go. Jeff looked away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. Hey, Mommy. His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. This is what came in, said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress, pants, and the white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him into his room and made him put his clothes on. Then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to the sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as though someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mother. Jeff looked over at his mother. "I couldn't help smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black. "Jeff, your eyes!" His eyes were seemingly never closing. "I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself. My new face." Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. "What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?" "Yes, son. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy. He can see your face." She ran to the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. "Honey, get the gun. She stopped Jeff and saw Jeff, and she stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway holding a knife. "Mommy, you lied." That's the last thing they heard as Jeff rushed at them with a knife, gutting both of them. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up. Before Jeff's hand covered his mouth, he slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. "Shh," Jeff said. "Just go to sleep." God, I can see why he snapped, because everybody in this story was an evil piece of shit. Like, how could you let somebody get the shit beaten out of them like that and get burned and shit, and then you don't fucking do anything? It's like, if I were seeing any of this scene, I'd call the damn cops. Like, right then and there. No questions asked. Seriously. Ugh, stupid. Alright. Let's see, how long has this one been going on? Whoa, dang, that story took 27 minutes to read. Let's see. Abandoned library. Let's see what that one's about. Books, books, books. There is one kind of library somewhere in Bristol, Massachusetts, that has a very special kind of book. The kind that should never be unearthed. Fly to Bristol. Go to a local tourist booth. There will be a blonde woman with emerald green eyes and pale skin. Make sure it's her. If it's anyone else, try again later. Go up to this woman and say this: "I know what you've hid. The time has come and will go. Provide me the knowledge which will sustain my health, or abolish it away." After saying this, she should start to frown and shake her head. In the event that she doesn't, close your eyes and whisper, "Protector of God, help me in my desperate time of need, for if you do, my life is yours." Otherwise, she'll open the door to the booth and lead you through an underground tunnel system. It may seem like days, but you must linger on, or you will be trapped in the underground system, walking aimlessly for a way out. Finally, there will be a dark red door. Open it, and make your way into the library. Now you're inside the abandoned library. The condition of the library will look brand new and well conditioned. Everywhere you look, the books will be stacked, layered, and placed. This is your time to begin looking. The book that you are looking for that has the title, The Healer. Look everywhere. You have exactly 2 hours to look for this book before the building collapses, crushing your tiny body to dirt. If you've managed to find it, open it and browse it carefully. If you don't find the book, an elderly man with no eyes will appear and laugh. The building will shake violently and begin to break down, crumbling to the floor. You will be crushed to death and surely unrecognizable. Once you've looked through the book, locate 5 certain illnesses, diseases, and viruses you wish to annihilate. You have only 5 choices, so choose wisely, for when you do, they will all be gone. After choosing, a young man will appear before you. He is the healer. Tell him your 5 choices. He will nod and put his hand on your shoulder, saying, "My child need not worry. Your wishes will transpire." If he says nothing, you will wake in your room as an amnesiac. Watch as he loudly chants and makes hand gestures. As he puts his hand down, you will feel extremely sick. So sick that you can't move at all. This feeling means that your wishes have come true and that those certain sicknesses have been removed. You will never hear about anyone getting infected or dying from any of these sicknesses. But there is a catch. Although those have been taken away, you must never return to the library. For if you try to, you will drop dead on sight. The coroner will find no cause of death, and your body will be taken to the depths of hell by a devil's spawn. That just sounds overly complicated. Alright. Let's see. I don't know what to choose. That one? The Haunted Estate? Let's try. Hi guys. Moving my face around. It's fun. Alright, so. The Haunted Estate. They said the house was haunted. He laughed and shook his head. Tut tut, I've never heard of such taffle. A ghost that creaks and groans and drags all over the old cold stones, wrapped in its chains. Give me one night to prove you all wrong, and I will ease your pains. So the man was invited to spend the night in the house, which was a large estate overlooking some grassy parkland and an old forest. The man was proven skeptic, and he wasn't afraid of anything. He was paid handsomely for one night, double in the morning. The estate was large and Elizabethan in nature. The man had eaten with the others before they left. Nobody spent more than a day in the estate. He passed the evening amicably enough, smoking, drinking coffee, reading a few poetry books in the immense library. Halfway through the evening, it must have struck him as odd that he was the only man in the estate, and every single room which there was free to him to explore. Nothing was out of bounds. It was a crazy thought, which he had never had before. But he shrugged it off. Being an eager man of the law all his life, he had never broken a rule and would not start now. The usual noises of the night. Oh my god, what am I reading? The usual noises of the night began floating around in the dark, empty corridors of the old estate, and crouching around the empty rooms, permeating his senses. How startled he must have been when he looked at the old grandfather clock and saw that after what he had seen like minutes, it was now 11:30. The smoker sat up in his chair, alert, the pine with smoke curling around his face, giving him an eerie complexion. He heard nothing apart from the creaks of loose steps upstairs, the wind whistling through the half-opened windows upstairs, and the beginning of torrential downpour outside. He got up after a while and rekindled the fire. He sat back down, drawing his chair a little nearer, and then relaxed again. The man was expecting nothing, so he was not alarmed when he heard the creaking of the bell chain on the grandfather clock chiming, nor by the heavy footfalls of a loose portrait falling off the wall with a crash. But the crash was louder than it should be. It echoed on and on, getting closer. Yes, it was getting closer. He sat up in the chair. 1 crash. 2 crashes. It was moving down the hall. He got right to his feet and brandished the pipe like a sword. The skeptical man believed this to be a prankster, one of the group who had stayed behind to play a prank. But he remembered that everybody was accounted for and that he had seen them off with his own eyes. So he saw the door open, and standing in the doorway, shrouded by light from the fire, was a tall man with chains wrapped around his body. The chains trailed off onto the floor, 2 feet behind him. He said in a deep, cavernous voice, "I am the ghost. Pray, who are you?" The startled Gus fled from the house and ran as fast as he could all the way home. I had just said, yo, what's up? I'm Jackie. How's it going? All right. That was a good one, actually. I liked that one. Let's see. The vault. This one's probably... Nah, it's not that long. All right. Peter was so happy that he graduated from college that he forgot to call his parents and tell them to come get him. He thought that they were on their way, so he was sitting out by the front of the college. While waiting there, his friend Matt came up to him with a cold stare, saying things that didn't sound to be English. He eventually got Matt to calm down, and Matt explained it to him. It tried. It took my soul. It tried, but it couldn't. It's coming for you, Matt said as he dropped to the ground, dead. His shirt was a little lifted, and Peter could see what appeared to be words. He lifted Matt's shirt, and written in what seemed to be blood, said, Peter, don't run. You can't stop us. It's too late. The first thing Peter thought about was that symbol. What could it mean? He had no idea. That part about him now hiding in the fact that it was written in blood worried him. He was so worked up on the message that he had forgotten that Matt had died, and he ran home. He got inside, locked the door, went to his room, and went to sleep. The next day, he awoke with a dead bird in his room and a message in blood on the wall saying, You ran. You hid. We found you. There's no escape. Why won't you give up? He ran and checked on his parents, who were acting like nothing had happened. He decided to keep the events that had happened to himself, and it had been a full month until he got another message. He was in the shower when he heard a cracking noise, which seemed to have been coming from behind his shower curtain. He cautiously pulled them back and stepped out of the shower. He glanced at the mirror, and it appeared to have words cracked into it. They read, Surprise! Do you remember me? Look under your bed for another surprise! He immediately ran into his room and checked under the bed. I wouldn't have. No. There was an innocent-looking box with a picture and a note inside. Peter examined the picture, then started to cry. The picture was of him the night Matt had died. It showed him reading the message on Matt's chest, but this wasn't the disturbing thing. The disturbing thing is that there seemed to be a man with no face standing behind Peter. Slender Man. All he had was a mouth which was positioned in a smiling form. He was holding up a cardboard sign that said, We were there. No. Peter looked at the note which said, Don't look behind you. Peter, who was tired and mad at whoever was doing this, turned around expecting to see someone. Instead, he saw something much more horrible. His parents' limbs were positioned in that strange symbol that was at the end of each message. Peter ran to his bathroom where the creature with the smile stood. Peter, tired of it all, just sat on the ground. Then the creature proceeded to slice off all of Peter's face, except for his mouth. He then positioned his mouth in a smiling form and then slipped the words, The Vault, into Peter's chest for his next victim to see. Come to think of it, this is probably the funnest thing I've ever done. Oh man, that was a little unsettling. Just a smidget. Go away, advertisement. No one cares. There's Mordecai. Didn't I already read Mordecai? I think I did. But in the other creepypasta. Oh, I think I did. Yeah, I did read it. If not, then I'll go back and read anything. Dang it. I'll go back and I'll re-watch my videos to see if I've read Mordecai, but Mordecai. fuck advertisements. But, you know, ain't nobody gonna pay like $20 for the actual Creepypasta app. Alright. Let's read one more. Alright. See how long this one is. Oh, not that long. So this will be a good little way to end the broadcast. And then I'll probably be playing Pokemon. So if you want to stay tuned for that, then feel free. I'm going to probably be playing Pokemon till like midnight or 1 in the morning. So hang tight. And then I will be doing some more creepypasta videos. I'm just hoping to come up with an actual schedule for that, so that way I can like edit the footage and whatnot. Many cultures have their own version of the boogeyman. A monster that lurks in the darkness, waiting to take children away to their shadowy domain. The weird thing is that sometimes kids see it before they even hear the stories about them. They feel the presence of something in their room, sometimes just outside their door, or at the end of a dark hallway. It is quite probable that this monster actually evolved as a survival technique, dating back to times when humans were tribal dwelling folk. If a small child wandered away from the camp, especially at night, chances are it would have never been seen again. This fear may have developed simply to make sure that we stayed in the safety of our own villages. But suppose for a moment that there is some validity to this idea of this supernatural being. Isn't it entirely possible it is not all evil or malicious? Many people believe in guardian angels. How do we know these aren't simply our guardians keeping an eye on us? The idea that an angel would use fear to keep us safe may sound strange, but the most efficient rulers tend to employ the Machiavellian philosophy. It is better to rule with fear than love. It is better to rule with love than hate. And while we're on the subject of the monster being real, have you ever heard of thought form? Thought form is the manifestation of mental energy. If enough people are pouring energy into the idea of the boogeyman, after a while, the boogeyman will show up. So when you lie awake at night, unable to sleep, what do you think about? Do you think about all the stressful things you have to do the very next day? Perhaps it's anticipation for some event that's approaching. Or is it because of the sensation that you are being watched in the dark? The feeling that you get from unseen eyes as they silently observe you tossing and turning in bed. The thought of knowing that even though you're safe in your own room, there is a creature lying in wait just at the foot of your bed. Sleep tight, everybody.